On today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about the old classic Dana 300 transfer case. Now, what qualifies me to talk about these things? Well, I've blown 5 of them up in that thing. So I've learned a couple things along the way over the years about Dana 300s. So I figured I'd make up a video, give you guys some tips, some knowledge, tell you about some parts that are going to make your Dana 300 last an awful lot longer. We're going to get into the 2 most important things to increasing the lifespan of your Dana 300. But first step, I got to clean this thing off a little bit, spray some super clean on it, spray with the hose, because it is a little bit leaky, a little bit crusty. Well, we'll let it drain. Why don't you buy an Atlas? Dana 300 suck. Atlas is way better. Absolutely zero argument out of me that an Atlas is better in every single way. In fact, the Atlas is modeled after the Dana 300. They're about the same size. Well, they're about 4,000 maple leaves, and this thing, I paid $1 a Dana. So 300 bucks, put a little bit of time and money into it, is still a lot better than 4 grand. So I wish I had Atlas money, but if you don't have Atlas money, let's get this cover off, pull some of these bolts out, take a look inside there, and we'll tell you a little bit more about how you can make this thing last a little bit longer. First up, 1/2 inch, take the cover off. I don't see any teeth missing. Let's get on to some of those tips I was talking about. Now, Dana 300s are notorious. Everyone says, oh, they blow up. They definitely do. Typically, the first thing everybody does, they buy a 32 spline output on the rear and on the front, which I have going on over there. Of course, these ones are just stock. But then once you upgrade the 32 spline outputs, the next problem that you start having, that they start ripping right in half. I did that twice. So one of the solutions, and it's been working for almost a decade in that thing, is a truss mount that holds both sides of the case together, not just one side, because with the other side hanging off there, case split in half. So you can get one of these over at my website, pathmakerproductions.com. It's made out of 1/4 inch steel, plasma cut, over on the Langmuir table. And this is going to be a huge help to hold your T-case from splitting in half. I got to be real super clear. All this stuff you can literally do with a tape measure, some cardboard, some time. That's how I did the ones on that thing. But if you want to skip that step, go hit up the website. But by all means, you don't have to buy anything. This is all stuff that you can figure out on your own. Now, the other trick to keeping the Dana 300 together is the stamped steel cover. The stock cover is super thin, not structural at all, and therefore you have a big hole in the side of your cast Dana 300 case that allows a little bit of deflection, which is where you split the case in half. We're going to tack these up right now. One of the other problems is you got to change these 2 to cap screws, because this ends up just a little bit too close once you get it welded on. Welded up, she's ready to go. This Dana 300 is going to be a hell of a lot stronger than a bone stock one. When I pop the Dana 300 in that thing, we'll have another one ready to go. Well, we all know how Murphy's Law works. And that last clip I was filming 2 weeks ago, talking about how I'm going to rebuild the Dana 300 and it's going to be my spare one under the bench. And the one in here is going strong and doing good. I got 7 years of use out of it, blah, blah, blah. Well, the next trip out, on the first hit, I done did that. Stripped off all those teeth. So, you know how she goes. No matter how well you trust these things, no matter how beefy you make them, weak link is still this small side main gear when you're running the 32 spline outputs. And I also, when I took this thing apart, I was just going to take the parts out of the spare one, slam it in this one, because I have these caps JB welded in there. But then I was looking closer, and I guess I figured out why that case has been leaking a little bit. It's had a big crack in it. On the bright side, I didn't split this case right in half, which used to be my problem before I trussed it. But either way, she gone. So now we got some JB weld showed up from the jungle store. I've said it a couple times, and why is that? This is the way the Dana 300 sits when it's in a forward orientation, driver's side front drop, which puts your shift rails caps at the bottom. the cap's full of a little bit of hydraulic fluid. You go to shift it, pops the caps out. When you have it the right way up, there's only air behind these shift rails, and it doesn't have enough. The air just compresses a little bit, won't pop the caps out. But when you run it upside down, I've learned you want to JB weld these things in. So we're going to do that today. While I got these pieces out on the bench, I've mentioned it a few times, but I figured I'd give you the real visual demonstration. Show you what the difference between the stock Dana 300 and the ones with the 32 spline outputs. You can see this is your front output. This is a JB Conversions 32 spline, and this is your stock 27 spline. So you can see the difference with the size of the shaft there. In fact, let's take a look. 1.37 inches, 1.11 inches. So we're that much bigger with the 32 spline stuff. And this output's been in the case for 3 different demos of the rest of the gears, stripping them out. Then here's your rear output, same thing. You can see the 32 spline versus the 27 spline. And then here's your rear output, the outside housing. There's your stock one. So you can see just a lot more stout stuff. No complaints about the 32 spline stuff, which is why we got the trusses, because once you do that, you start splitting the cases. And once you fix that, well, then you start doing this. So I need to figure out, I could get some Lomax 4-to-1 gears, but I'm not sure yet if the actual gear is any stronger, because this is what I do on every one of them. Every time I strip them out, it's always that main gear that lets me go down. This time you could tell I drove home because no teeth left. So there's a couple of differences how to Dana 300 stuff. Let's get that JB weld figured out. It's only like about 5 degrees in the shop right now, so I don't know how quick my JB weld's going to dry for me. Every good project around here starts with some JB weld. Well, don't be an idiot like me. Mount this all up and press the bearing on before you slide it in the case, because you actually have to put it on in place. So one of the main gears, then the roller bearing, which is what I got to press on. But as we all know, I'm an idiot, and I cut my press up to make my belly pan the other day. So by pressing on, I'm going to slip a piece of pipe over here and hit it with a hammer. JB Conversions has awesome instructions on their website for how to put all this stuff back together. So I'm not going to go through every single step, but time to put a little bit of RTV, then bolt this thing up on there. I'm so messy with RTV, it's embarrassing. Just a dumb carpenter, right? So these are the longer bolts that you need. They're 3/8 by 1.5 inch grade 12 cap screws. And I'm going to, of course, tighten them up a little bit, let the RTV cure, and then these got to come off again because the truss mounts in there underneath those bolt heads. But we want to get this RTV nice and cured first. Front output in, bearing cap on, slid this one on. This is your shift rails. You got to, as you slide your shift rails in, you got to make sure you got the shift forks in there. And then next we're going to put these 2 stupid set screws in. We can tighten up these bolts, we can tighten up those bolts. Winning, case is almost back together. Now we have one of the lamest things that you have to do about this whole goddamn project, and that is all of these bearings need to go inside this main gear, but they're not sealed bearings or one-piece bearings. I literally have to get, so I got the gloves on, get grease on all these and balance them all in there. And we're just using the grease to hold the bearings in place. Smear grease on the inside of this, bunch of bearings, spacer in the middle, bunch more bearings, one on top. And then you get to put grease on the back of these and balance them in there and then slide this main gear in. So I'm going to try to do this here without making an absolute complete mess. Just about slide this shaft back in, and of course felt some of the bearings fall off. So now I get to pull this back out, put some more grease on them, try again. I got it that time. Perfect. Seat to pin. All right, we're winning on this thing. Unlike the one we had earlier, that was to the stock output, the truss. This is to the 32 spline JB conversions. The hole over here is slightly different, and I include, you need an extra spacer here due to the thicker flange over here. But this is all mocked up. Got our sight hole drilled and tapped. Will come out of there. Looks like that. One of the things we haven't talked about is the shift rails. They slide back and forth. You can see them down to the bottom there. And they push these collars back and forth to change the gear from high gear to low gear. Super common mod that people do is they pull out the front shift rail and you grind the one rail 0.85 of an inch more, one of the notches, which allows you to do a front dig, which is essentially gives you a front wheel drive only in low gear, so you can pivot around trees and whatnot. Getting the shift rails out is really easy. You literally turn the shift rail like that and then pull it out. Now, I'm giving you the in theory because if I pull this out now, it'll come out, but the spring that's in there and the detent ball are going to go flying out, and the only way to get them back in is you need to get out these plugs and replace them, which I've done on my shifter over here, but I don't have any more 12 mil plugs, and I really don't want to pull this out, have it go spring, and just to show you guys, because it turns into a huge pain. But modding the shift rails is actually really easy to do. Take out one rail. You can find a drawing on the internet on what you have to grind on the shift rail and give yourself a front dig. So you don't need to be scared of that. It's pretty easy to do. It's done on my rig, so we're gonna leave it alone for now. That means we're at the point with this thing. We welded these tabs on, meaning it's pretty much time to slap a bit of paint on this bad boy, get this whole thing bolted back up, and get it back in the rig. So let's spray some paint. Let's get this thing bolted all back up. Some pretty nice welds. Pretty happy with that. But there you go. That's a couple things that will help your Dana 300 last a hell of a lot longer. Because remember, you don't need an Atlas. Just buy a cheap 40-year-old transfer case, scap some 1/4 inch plate on it.